Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of Duo Q, a podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life and video games. This week, we actually have two of our close personal friends, Sean and River. And this week, we're going to be talking about basically one topic. We all watched the live action Avatar that came out on Netflix about last week now. We all watched it together at the same time, and we wanted to share our thoughts about it. So, who wants to kick us off?
I'll kick us off. Y'all know Hot Ones, like the show, like on YouTube
Yeah.
with Sean Evans.
Yeah,
I see Hot Ones wings and sandwiches on DoorDash right now.
yeah, you could buy the
Okay.
hot sauce in Walmart. I've done it before. It genuinely goes hard.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just thought that was crazy. You can get wings, chicken sandwiches, like anything chicken basically, and then it comes with a sauce.
Not sponsored, I guess. By Hot
Yeah,
Wings.
no,
by
they're
Hot
not
Ones.
sponsored. No, but like, you know.
All right.
Damn, but that would be crazy.
Okay, but like, what do we
Anything
think
about
overall
Avatar?
of the show?
Oh yeah, Avatar, the live action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Pandora I thought was always really cool. And I like how they
Yeah.
just did it again.
Yeah, I like
big
getting to like
trees.
look at the swamp and shit. You know.
Yeah. That was pretty
Sea
cool. And then you
people
saw the
were
water
alright.
people this time.
Yeah, the water people, they were pretty cool.
Yeah. About the last Airbender. All right. I'm gonna start with something I think that bothered me probably the most.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I gotta start with a negative. Even though spoiler alert, my opinions on the show as a whole, I would say I wouldn't deem negative. But I think it actually was pretty decent and definitely better than the movie version that came out in like 2010, which was like probably one of the worst high budget films of all time.
I feel like that guy hated that movie. Like he wanted to make it bad on purpose.
Yeah,
For such a good director for that movie to be like that.
Yeah, it's that's a whole other can of worms. But I feel like my biggest concern was that, or my biggest issue was that Katara's waterbending. So like in episode 1, she was like at the very beginning of episode 1, her and Sokka, she's like trying to lift a bubble of water,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like not working. And then like 3 episodes go by, we basically saw her train not at all.
Yep.
And now she can do like the water whip. Oh no. In episode 1 still. After Aang gave her like some, which I think she does even in the cartoon, was she like brings the big water ball to block the fireball that comes from the Fire Nation ship as they're escaping on Appa. And to be fair, like that wasn't that bad, but the fact that she went from barely could make a bubble to in the last episode, or was it the last episode? One of them. She's there with Paku,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's just a master. What did she master? Being a loser? Like, like biggest loser ever. Like I didn't watch her do anything.
Yeah.
Like train at all. There were like 3 scenes spread throughout the entire 8 episodes where Aang is like, he's like, yeah, you just need to like breathe, man.
Like feel the energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the next scene he's like, feel the energy.
Relaxing, bro. You just gotta relax.
And
Let it flow through you.
and the reason he can say it generally about bending for sure,
Yeah.
but the reason why it actually, like, his advice was, I thought, actually good, was because in the animated series, in book 1, Water, the Avatar, master of all 4 elements, is learning water alongside Katara. Like they're both supposed to know how to do it.
Yeah.
But in the live action, right, in the cartoon, by the end of book 1, they're kind of like both decent. Like Aang and Katara are both decent.
Yeah.
But by the end in the live action, Katara is a master and Aang doesn't know a damn thing. And it's like, that's a big leap.
That's so
I don't know
true.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
started cooking, and I didn't really like how it tasted there.
yeah, it wasn't a good
That's
steak.
fair.
It was
Yeah.
Other
raw.
than going into the Avatar state and becoming the big, like, fuck you Godzilla water monster, did he do any water bending at all?
No,
No,
I mean, no. The only time I
not a
saw him
lick.
touch water in the entire season is when him and Katara were splashing in like the river.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. He was like, "You gotta like feel it, bro." And then she was like, "Oh, look at my like water ball." And then he was like, I can water bend too." And he like slaps the water at her
The
like
only
play
time the
fighting,
Avatar
like,
touched the
whatever.
water the entire
Yeah,
season.
that was it. No, that was it.
That's the
whole
only
thing.
water bending he did all season.
Yeah,
it was
water
bad. It was
Yeah.
bad for sure. Um,
I just want to because I'm a nerd, I have to do a correction. The water ball, like Katara, like bringing the water up from like a mile up into the air to like block it, was not in the original show. In the original show, Aang did his like took his staff and did like a baseball kind of swing thing. He like air
Okay.
blasted it.
Speaking of
I thought at
that,
one point, at least, one of them did like a big water pillar that came up and blocked one.
I think
Speaking of his
I think
staff,
in
I
the
feel like
anime
it got
the ads were.
critically underused in the live action. I remember there
What?
being in like 3 scenes. Aang's staff.
Oh yeah, the staff. He said he doesn't even use the staff. I mean,
I remember seeing
like-
it in like 3 scenes in the entire season.
he drops it all the time, and he doesn't use it for the entire series in the animated series, but he used it a lot in book 1 when he was basically like a pure airbender. He used it
Yeah.
a lot in the first season.
Guy
And-
uses his airbending focus when he can only airbend, but like
Yeah.
actually no, he just drops it.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
that wasn't great. I would say for me overall for the show, I would also say that it was pretty decent. There were a lot of things that I feel like they could have done better, but none of them they did so poorly that I actually walked away from the show thinking it was a negative experience. For me, my first big problem since Tyler shared one, King Boomy is just one of my favorite characters overall. In the show, I'm a big fan of him. He's probably in my top 5. I usually put him at like number 3. And the way they rewrote him and characterized him in the live action was honestly, for me, atrocious. They kind of
Agreed.
did the thing where he was crazy, like they got that part down, but they did the spin where like, okay, in the original animated show, Boomy was never like mad at Aang for disappearing or like whatever. He was just kind of happy to see his friend, and he like fucked with him a little until Aang figured out who he was, and then he was like, "Yeah, dude, like, hey, it's so good to see you, bro. Like, I can't believe I'm 112. I can't believe that I get to see you again." And then they like ended off by doing like the fucking like cart, like racing down the Omashu in the cart like they did when they were like 12 in that flashback. So like,
Why did they battle in the animated series again? I forgot.
just to fuck with him.
Yeah,
It
pretty
was
Oh,
much.
okay.
he was
It-
like,
It was part of his quote unquote test.
yeah,
He had to pass tests to like free Sokka and Katara
Yeah.
from like the candy gem.
So like they showed up, right?
Oh, that's
and
right.
yeah, he put them in like the candy ring.
And this
like,
is before
prison.
he knew it was Boomy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for
Okay.
context, he did not realize it was candy. He thought it was like
Like
legitimate
actual like
gem.
crystal that would like suffocate them or whatnot if it like fully formed. And then at the end of the episode, he's like, "Oh yeah, it was like candy the whole time." He just like takes a bite out of one of them, like it's like a rock candy or something. But yeah, so like he just fucks with them, and he has a good time in the original show. Obviously, he's also teaching Aang like lessons about neutral Jing and everything, like his main fighting style to like wait and listen. That he then sees again with Toph later. But King Boomy was awesome, and in the live action, he was so mad. He was so butthurt. He was like, "You weren't here for all these years. You didn't have to live through the war that you abandoned the world, blah, blah, blah." It was so weird, and not in his original character. Like he just seems so butthurt about it. And then when they do the fight, one, he doesn't capture Sokka or Katara, and they don't have to match it 1-for-1, so whatever. But like, there's not even really that hook to the fight in the live action. And then the way the fight
I guess
ends,
the hook is that like he's actually mad at Aang.
yeah, pretty much. And the way that the fight ends, where he just like gets those two giant boulders, and he has like one above him and one above Aang, and he's like, "One of us has to die, Aang. You have to choose which one of us is gonna die. Someone's gonna die." And it's like, what the fuck are we saying? Like, from the context that this is Boomy and they're friends, and they recreate the going down the mountain scene, in the live action show, like they do go down like the Omashu like mail shoot thing in the live action, so they're still friends. With the context that they're still friends, what the fuck is Boomy on in that scene? He's like, "One of us has to die. You gotta choose, man. You gotta choose." And then like Katara comes over and like water bends like the boulder, like helps like push the boulder away from Boomy, and then it's like, "See, friendship." And Boomy's like, "Shit, man, I didn't even think about that. Friendship's pretty cool, huh?" It's like, but he went from like suicide is badass to like, yeah, we can be friends, I guess.
That's kind of
So-
like God of War 2018
Yeah.
with the whole Atreus arc, where he went from like homicidal maniac to back to the power of friendship within like an hour.
Yeah, so that was my biggest thing for me. I'd say over the whole first season overall, I feel like they gutted the Boomy character, and most of Omashu was really weird because it took like parts of the story that they didn't like bother to let sit on their own. Like the inventor dude and his cripple son were like in the Eastern Air Temple in the original show, and now they're just
Mhm.
like in Omashu. And then Jet is also like, he wasn't in Omashu. He was in
That's definitely
like,
just
a
the
piss
episode
random area.
condensing.
Yeah, they just kind
They're
of put
like,
them
"Oh,
all in
let's
one
condense
place.
like 4 episodes in one. Katara's gonna have her jet arc, and
It was so short in this one.
It's gonna take like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was so short in this one. It was just like, ooh, Jet, he's kind of like handsome. And then Jet was like, "I'm going to blow up the Earth King." And she was like, "Huh?" Like,
What?
like it went
yeah, and then that was it.
straight.
Really.
Yeah, it was like, it was pretty crazy. But go ahead.
I kind of like, so I didn't mind Boomy that much. I just kind of accepted that in the live action throughout pretty much the whole thing, they started doing this is obviously like has a more serious theme than the original, where the cartoon had a lot of lightheartedness in it.
Mhm.
And there was, because there was like a lot more time to put that in as well, with a lot more different episodes. You could really like flesh out the characters as characters themselves. But it really did seem in the live action that everybody that meant anything that Aang would come in contact with is telling him like, "Oh, when you're the Avatar, you can't be having friends. That's pretty lame."
Yeah.
And then
Friends?
yeah,
Fun?
or like,
What the fuck?
yeah, no
What-
friends.
Are you stupid?
No
Dude.
friends, no fun. That was pretty much like what everybody is preaching to Aang anytime they would meet. So Boomy kind of following with that was like Boomy being more serious, and then having that thing where it's like sometimes you need to choose who you're gonna save.
Yeah.
And like I believe that what Boomy was trying to get across is that it's the he's the Avatar and he has to save the world, so it should be himself. And sometimes you have to sacrifice your friends, being him, Boomy, who was his friend. Like I didn't mind it that much, but I mean I will say I'm not as attached to Boomy in the
Yeah.
cartoons.
I would
So, like-
say
Yeah.
my completed point of it is that the overall like lesson, and my camera's being annoying today. The overall lesson and scene wasn't awful. It was just the wrong character to do it. There was even that like during the Earth Kingdom segments of the story, there was that one general guy who like kidnaps Katara to like try and force Aang to enter the Avatar state, if you remember, by like
Yeah.
continuously like sinking her into the ground, like further and further
Oh,
into
yeah.
the ground till she's swallowed. That guy was a very morally questionable, probably even on the bad side for an earthbender. He could have been the one to like instill a lesson like that. I just think it was the wrong character to do it. It didn't match Boomy's original character, but some people are going to be okay with that, and that's fine. I just personally didn't like it because he's one of my favorites.
No, I get that. That's been one of my biggest pet peeves with the live action is I feel like they did a pretty bad job at the characterization
Yeah,
for
at
almost
least
the entire cast. The only one that really stayed consistent to the original was Ozai. The rest have a lot of glaring issues the more you watch.
yeah.
I actually think Zhao is one of the best ones. If you know
Zhao was
about
so sick.
like the cartoon
Yeah.
version of I was watching a video that was like kind of going on a deep dive with this and comparing the two, where Ozai in the cartoons was like a lot more of a monster. Like in the flashbacks, like he didn't even care that he burned his son. He really wasn't. He was just mad. Like he was very angry and enraged, and he banished his son and told him don't come back until you find the Avatar because he was like he genuinely believed that would never happen.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
they definitely stage it in the way that Ozai in the live action. If you see, he has like tears in his eyes whenever he's burning Zuko, whenever he's burning his face. And also, he actually has moments where he seems proud of Azula and stuff. And also, when whoever it is tells him that Zuko found the Avatar, like actually that he found him, and Ozai is like realizing it, he kind of looks proud in a way. And things like that. I actually like what they did with Ozai. I think it's actually better
I agree.
than in the animated series
I feel
because
like
it gives
Ozai's
him
like
character.
Yeah.
I don't
Ozai's,
think
like,
it's
the
bad at
only
all.
character or like one of like 3 that aren't just so much worse.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
it's like Ozai, Zhao, and probably Iroh. The rest are kind of questionable at best.
yeah, Iroh matched very well, but like it's not a big deal. But like when he was like, "Whatever you do to that spirit, I'll unleash on you tenfold." They found an actor that looked like Iroh. Like they found a very good physical match for like casting, but he didn't sound nearly as like menacing or like dead serious as the original voice actor Mako was. But
And that's
that's like
definitely
you can't win them all. It's just like a minor nitpick. But yeah, Iroh was good. Ozai, I really like what they're doing with Ozai because for as good of a series that the animated Avatar was, it is a true statement to say that like Ozai was just, I don't know, like Darth Vader with no story. I don't know. He was as close as you can get to just a pure force of nature without being a force of nature character. Like he was just bad because he's bad. Like there was no reasoning, there was no nothing. When you talk to him, he's like, "Yes, I am evil man. I will destroy everything. I will rule all. Blah blah blah. You will lose cuz you are weak." Like his whole thing was just like, "Yeah, I'm evil." So they're expanding on him a little bit more, and I feel like that could be interesting in future seasons. One thing I really want to see if they do go all of the way, I want to see what the Zuko Ozai conversation looks like towards the end of the series during the during the eclipse. That would be a very interesting conversation if they give it the screen time that it actually needs to like work. I think that's a big enough thing that it should have like 5 minutes of its own in an episode. like uninterrupted.
I agree, but I feel like it's not going to get that. A lot of the scenes that were like 5+ minutes, if you look at it, they were trimmed down to like between 2 and 3.
Yeah. Me and Tyler were talking about it at work earlier today too. 'Cause we didn't want to use all our points, but we talked about it for like 5 minutes. And a big thing that happened is with Zuko in this season, he didn't get a lot of his humanizing scenes that he got in the original series in the first season. Like he never even gets to kidnap Aang and then like actually let Aang go back to the water tribe like he did in the original show. Like Aang tries to escape and then like in the original animated show, like Aang attempts to escape after he gets him into like the frozen landscape and he like goes to like throw fire, but like right before he does it, he just like hesitates and then doesn't. He just lets Aang get away like on purpose. That whole thing didn't even happen. Like Aang never even got kidnapped. He was just in the Northern Water Tribe the whole time, and he just yeah, like so that whole thing, that whole letting him go, completely didn't happen at all. The only scene that they got was the Blue Spirit one, where after he like got knocked out, and they're like, "Hey, you think if I like met you back then, we could have been friends?" Like they did that thing, which is a good one. That really should have been there. But like the 2 or 3 other ones that he got during the first season in the original animated show, he just didn't get. Like
He
that,
got one in the Earth Kingdom. He got one like right next to Boomy. He had to choose between Aang and Iroh,
yeah, he chose Iroh.
and he
Yeah,
ran.
that's true.
He ran for Iroh.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's a good point. That's a good one.
yeah, I a few characters I like in the live action actually more than the anime. What is Iroh?
More?
I think no, not Iroh. Ozai. I like Ozai more because I feel like they added like humanizing, traits to his character. Like
Mhm.
he feels ashamed, but for whatever reason he feels like he needs to teach his son this really hard lesson. But he has tears in his eyes as he does it whenever he makes the scar. He banishes his son, and
Used to like visit him bedside and all that stuff too.
yeah,
After he
and
does it.
I like how we saw a lot more of Ozai in general in the live action than the cartoon. So I really like that. I liked Zhao. I think I can't remember the actor's name exactly, but I really like that actor who plays Zhao. I've seen him in like a lot of different things. I've also seen the Ozai actor who was in
Yeah,
Lost.
he was in The Good Doctor as well as like the chief of the hospital.
Who the Zhao?
No, the Ozai.
Ozai?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah, they both good in a
I
lot
am
of
a
things.
surgeon scene.
Yeah.
He's
I am a
the guy
surgeon.
getting
Oh.
yelled at.
Nice.
Oh my god, I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like a lot of the things that both of those actors are in, and I think they're just overall really good actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Zhao, I don't know why, but I felt like I've watched the cartoon, like probably rewatched it like 3 times, and then obviously watched it as a kid. I haven't watched it like a ton of times, but I never any of the times have felt connected or cared about Zhao in general at all. He's just bad guy. He's a season 1 bad guy. And honestly, since Ozai is more out of the picture, he's actually like main bad guy. He feels
Oh
like
yeah, he's like the
of
main
season 1.
thing of season 1. I mean,
You
he
know?
kills the moon, bro.
True, which he still does. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's still
killed the
kind of
moon.
main bad guy. But
That's real funny.
I thought he was just really good. Because I feel like for whatever reason, I'm sure like a big combination of things I could go on about. I care more about Zhao in the live action than I did in the cartoon. Also, Aang's trainer, what's his name?
Paku?
No, the air,
Oh,
his
Gyatso.
airbending. Yeah,
Gyatso.
Monk Gyatso. I really felt more connected to him in this series than in the live action as well,
Mhm.
or in the live action than in the cartoon as well. I feel like they just had more scenes, and the actor who played him
Yeah,
was
they
really
gave
good.
him way more time. And
Yeah,
it
they,
was a really
they gave
good
him a lot of
casting.
time, and they showed them interacting like a bunch of times. That's why like we just started watching. I just started watching it again with Alyssa, and usually later in the series they do like flashbacks to show him and Gyatso, being together.
Mhm.
But they start off the live action with the extinct like Aang being at the air temple, and then like the extinction of the air, tribe. And then also when I don't does this happen in the cartoon where Aang meets Gyatso in the spirit
Nope.
world?
No, I was gonna say that was off the cuff original, and it was
Yeah,
really
Yeah,
good.
that was pretty based.
It was
The
really good.
spirit world is a lot different in the live action.
Yeah, I thought that was
Like,
really based, and that
it's
just kind of adds
Pretty
on.
dramatically different.
Yeah, it just kind of adds on to like why I like Gyatso more in the live
Um,
action.
Another one they did really well in live action is Zuko's crew. Like they gave
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
their
That was
characters
You actually
massive.
care about Zuko's crew. in a
Yep.
because
bit,
like
in a way.
I don't even remember the lieutenant having a name in the live action. It's been a while since I've rewatched it.
They
but,
might
I don't
like,
think he
mention
does.
it, but
I only remember them being referred to as like lieutenant, but like they actually did a good job with creating the Lieutenant G character and like fleshing out the crew as a whole.
yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
was gonna say that was a live action adaptation thing that they did that was really good, because in the original, like, the crew only exists for like season 1, for the most part. But in the original show, it's like, yeah, these are like your Fire Nation jobber henchmen. Like there's no characterization. They're just
Yeah.
dudes.
There's really no
They
story.
throw fire, right? And in this one, they did the whole that they didn't do at all. Like, oh, do you know why you were chosen to be like Zuko's crew? And then like they tell the whole story, like they were the division that was gonna get like sacrificed, basically suicide missioned, in order for like Ozai's plan to work, and Zuko was the one who fought against it. So then they were like, oh shit, Zuko is the reason that we're not all dead right now.
Mhm.
And like all that crap. So that was really cool. That was a really cool addition. I fully agree. That was really, yeah. I can only say that was really cool. That was really good. More stuff like that is, I feel like, see, that's kind of a thing that I would say is that didn't change pre-existing knowledge, that only added stuff that was good. So like the Boomy comparison to that, or
Mhm.
like so on and so on. I feel like that we need more stuff that was like actually original additions, and season 2 could be like actually great and not just like okay, good.
Yeah, I really wish like if you doubled the amount of episodes there was in episode 1, did everything that the cartoon did, and then also add things on top of that. Like, yeah, this is a lot like the cartoon
Mhm.
in many ways in terms of like stories and characters and the flow of the story and everything. But also, Zuko's crew aren't just faceless henchmen. Zhao is more interesting. Ozai has more depth. If you just added all that stuff but never took away all the other stuff, like a lot of Sokka's development
Yep.
and things like that, like and Paku's
Uh,
and Katara's conflict, if you didn't take away those things and just added to the story, I think that it would have actually kind of had a chance to be better than the animated.
The episodes were an
Uh,
hour long. The
Yeah.
episodes in
Roughly,
the
yeah.
cartoon, 20 minutes long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there was also like 20 plus this
There was
season, I
20.
think.
So
Yeah.
they had more time to tell the live action story than they did in the actual cartoon.
I don't know how
Wow.
accurate it is, but apparently there was only like 45 less minutes for the first season compared to the animation.
And that's crazy
Yeah.
because of how many things they cut out.
Yeah. I was gonna say we
it's
didn't get
like-
any of like
I was
go ahead.
I was rewatching like some of the scenes with like a Ko and like the moon spirit and stuff, and there was so much cut out from those scenes in particular, like
Yep.
so much.
Then when
cut out
they
a lot.
when they visited Kyoshi Island, they didn't do any of like the giant eel surfing thing. He didn't get to like show off his airbending to like all the little kids, or like he didn't do any of that. He didn't like, again, Sokka, most of his development was cut out. Like he wasn't like sexist, so he didn't get shown up by like Suki. I mean, like he kind of did, but it was just like,
it was like a very tame.
yeah, it was
version
just
of
like,
it.
okay, whatever. Like, yeah, I lost. Wow,
Yeah.
you're pretty strong. You know, like, and so like all of that was generic. They cut out so much. There's so
Cut out a
much.
lot.
You also just reminded me of one of my biggest pet peeves from this first season was the whole like him like temporarily transforming into Kyoshi on the island. Like
I like
it
that.
just I know you
I didn't
like
have a
it.
problem with that one.
Yeah, I would say I feel neutral about that one.
I personally was not a fan of it. I mean, it looked good. I just felt like it kind of defeated the point.
Yeah, I get what I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like,
if he could just turn into any past avatar and have all their
Yeah.
powers,
Like,
then
why
why does
learn
he need to do
anything?
all the work himself?
You should fight Ozai by having like a fucking big old cart that just has like statues of previous avatars on it. Then he just morphs into different
Just
avatars based on his
holy
need.
shit.
He just
Just
has
turns-
the statue of the original avatar. Ozai, your time has come.
Yeah.
Bro starts playing fucking Skylanders on him.
If you forget that, I think it looked epic. I think it looked
Yeah.
I
badass.
didn't say it looked bad. I just
Yeah.
felt like it did not make a lot of sense.
The CGI was a lot better than I thought. The bending, I think, was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Although the expectations were extremely low from the
Okay,
movie.
okay, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this much: the bending only looked good for like the main characters when they were doing like I guess you could call it like the intro sequence when they were showing like Sozin. Bending was trash. That shit was awful.
Yeah,
he
I
just
mean,
put out
like-
his hands and was like,
Yeah,
burn.
I figured I knew what you were saying. Like visually, like graphically, it all looked like the same quality, but like, and I was gonna mention this at some point too. The live action really got rid of like the martial aspect for 90% of the characters. And I know there's probably a very common argument for why that is it's very easy for a dude who draws all of the show to draw everyone doing the moves, the martial moves. It's a lot harder to teach like hundreds of actors at the same time how to actually like do this shit and make it look good. So they just defaulted to like, okay, the main cast is going to know how to do all like the fancy smanchy. Like Zuko, he looks great when he's firebending. Iroh, same thing.
He actually does
Zhao,
martial arts.
same thing. Yes, that's what I'm saying. They all
well,
Iroh,
yeah.
Iroh, Zhao, Zuko, they did martial arts. Every other firebender in the entire season, they're like, I'm gonna firebend at you. There you go. Like
Ozai
and-
did some of the martial arts. In the fight where he's fighting Zuko.
did I not mention him? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he did. Yeah.
I really liked that scene, especially after learning what I now know, is that apparently both of those actors have done like martial arts training in their life, like and like actively still do it as like
Yeah.
a way to like keep fit and stuff like that. And so that scene was like, I mean, it was obviously like staged, but like it was like they didn't have to practice their like stances and stuff like that. You know, it obviously had to come and, you know, work out a certain way, but like the hits and whatnot, like that was like all them. They didn't have to like go through training to make the scene or anything like that. It didn't require a lot of effects. So it was just like, y'all know what to do. Y'all can do martial arts. You know, this is kind of how the scene has to end, and this is the words that we're gonna say, and you know, the lines and whatnot.
Yeah.
And y'all gonna go crazy.
Go
And like
wild.
Zuko's gonna have a moment where he can take down Ozai, and then he's gonna stop, and then Ozai's gonna be like, you know, and then yeah, and then they cooked, and it was pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely just, like I said, I feel like I can understand why. So I won't hold it as a mark against the whole show. It's just like a shame, and it would be cool if it got better. But like, I won't
See-
be like, it's a terrible show now because the jobbers like don't do like triple double backflips. It's
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like you could just hire people that know martial arts for your background actors at the same time too, and it would genuinely improve the
It's
quality
probably
of the
more
show.
expensive because it's
I
a
feel
special
like
skill they're
most of
hiring for, too. Though
yeah, I feel like most of the problems with the live action or what they are always
budgeting.
money.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always money.
I mean, when it comes to
God.
live action, I never hold my standard too high. The best live action I've ever even seen was probably The Hunger Games. That is like one of the closest live actions I've ever seen.
I kind of like. I wish that it was only Ozai. That like I wish they kind of made it a point that everyone is kind of doing the martial arts, but Ozai is literally like so powerful. Like very certain characters are like the really powerful ones, the ones that like matter. Not just soldier number 3 can just do this and shoot fire.
Mm.
More
I
like
mean-
Ozai can just go like this to Gyatso and beat him, and he can just like do that to anybody. Or like whenever he grabs the hand of the person who had the earthbending or had the plans and passed off the plans that the Fire Nation was going to attack the Earth Kingdom, and he just hold on to his hand and then just incinerated his body. I thought that was pretty cool. I just it kind of like showed off his power, but it did have less of an effect of showing off his power because a lot of people in like the first scene where they were attacking the airbending temple kind of were just doing that.
Yeah.
Like I wish it was kind of just the really strong people that could do it. That way it's like if you can firebend with basically just your mind and just not be able to, you know, not have to like do all the yeah.
Well, to
Then,
be
like-
fair, what you're saying does apply to the first scene specifically, because Sozin was a previous Fire Lord, and it was during the comet
Sozin's
where
comet,
the
yeah.
Fire Lords get extra
I was gonna
strength.
make that argument. Yeah,
They
while you
get
were
extra
saying it,
strength during the comet, so it's like yes, it makes sense in a way, but the way
Yeah.
they executed it, it just did not look well.
because I do think they started using more like martial. I didn't really feel like anybody was using not a lot of martial arts towards like whenever it wasn't Ozai or it wasn't during the comet.
The fire, like the random Fire Nation dudes, not much. It was more just like
No.
I
Yeah,
don't remember seeing it. I feel like
Like if you go ahead.
I feel like most of the jobbers from like everyone was just kind of like doing the very basic, very minimum.
Yeah. It wasn't just like a firebender problem either.
even in the cartoon, I mean, like the scene where like the line of soldiers goes like, "Hoo, hoo," and then like shoots the fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like they weren't doing like kick flips every time they had to shoot fire.
Yes,
No, I'm
but
not-
there was a
That's not what
form
we're
to
saying.
it.
we're
Yeah.
not saying like you have to be like on 10 every time you're using it. It just is lacking like that martial aspect a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, I mean, honestly, that's yeah. With the bending, that was basically it. I mean, I would, like I said, I would appreciate if it happened more in the future seasons if they get like a bigger budget. Seeing like Netflix probably was like, wow, well, we didn't put a ton into this, and it still got like a lot of views because the original fan base and whatnot. So like, maybe we should give it a little bit more money. But
they already renewed for 2 and 3,
yeah,
They-
I saw that as well. But
so we're going to get the whole series.
on that
guaranteed.
topic, and pretty much the last thing I figured we were going to talk about tonight, how do you guys think they will actually handle the other 2 books, and what are some of the things you might actually be excited to see in live action?
I'm worried. I'm like
What are you
I-
worried about?
because Aang learned no water in book 1 water.
True, very true, King.
Please for the love of God, at least like please learn both of them, like water and earth in season 2. I really don't want that. Like, okay, if he makes it through book 2 without learning earth and also maybe also not learning water, I'm gonna be really, really confused.
Yeah,
with where they take
Yeah.
it to season 3. So it's either you do it, or I get kind of worried that they're going to do the thing we kind of memed about,
Yeah.
where he just becomes one of the past avatars, and it's like Ozai has to stand toe to toe with Sozin again, and things like that.
Roku, you mean?
Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, Roku again. And that would be pretty anime as fuck if, like, because of what we learned about their past together.
But
But
no, that's not Ozai. That's Roku and Azulon.
Same
Azulon
thing.
is Ozai's dad.
oh, well, I mean that works too. I mean that's still like lore between
I'm
them.
gonna clap you like I did
Well,
your daddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if he doesn't
Those are
learn
enough
the
for Roku to
bendings
die, so I mean,
in season 2, I'm going to really start worrying that's where they go with it, which would probably make for a cool scene, but also make for a really garbanzo
Series.
series as a whole,
that
where
would
it's like
Yeah.
master of all 4 elements, huh? Is it just because you did it before in the past life? Like, what are we saying?
Yeah.
that would be actually awful though, because the final fight between Aang and Ozai is actually quite good.
It's super good. I
Yeah.
rewatched
They
it
would hand-
recently.
If they would handle it that way, that would be such a major disappointment.
The
I
entire
really hope
series is a
Zuko gets his long
journey.
hair.
It's quite literally
Yes.
a journey of Aang learning literally everything.
Mhm.
What I'm really
I
worried
would-
about is that in season 1 or season 2 episode 1, they're just gonna like cold open to Aang and Katara like waterbending together and be like, huh? The
Oh,
whole
yeah,
we-
process just like
Oh yeah, we've been practicing. Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
yeah,
been
like,
like
it-
2 weeks.
it's old
like,
I
news.
would
We did
not
talk
be
about that at
shocked.
work today.
I would not be
If
shocked.
they just know water at the start of the season, and then
Yeah.
maybe they learn Earth during the season. Oh, they need to nail Toph, because Toph is
Yeah.
like a lot of people's favorite characters.
Yeah,
Toph is
Yeah.
my
In
favorite
season
right
they
two-
there.
won't do Toph good enough.
And they also need to have the mountain. Wait,
It's the
the
boulder.
boulder
Boulder.
is
The boulder is no longer conflicted.
the boulder
Yeah.
is conflicted about facing a little girl.
I think he's just as important as Cabbage Guy. Like you need those. You need like the key memes at least of
I
the
don't
series.
know. I feel like they're taking the live action and putting it in a world that's too serious. They're not letting any of like the good aspects of the cartoon shine through.
I genuinely hated how serious they made Aang the entire season. He had like
Yeah.
one goofy scene the entire season.
That
Also-
was the thing as well, because like for sure that hurt his character development, because his character development for season 1 was supposed to be like fully setting into the reality that he has to be the Avatar, that he
and
has
he
to
becomes
do this.
more serious
Yes,
after
he
season 1. Once
Yeah.
he realizes like the weight.
but he
of
just
what's
starts that
going
way.
on.
He's like, "Oh, I must be the Avatar." Okay, well, if I have to, after like the first 2 episodes, it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
But yeah, the one thing I am interested to see how they handle when they introduce like Toph is the seismic sense. Like
Yeah.
when they showed her earth
Mhm.
bending. Because they also showcase it several times with Aang while he's learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very curious to see how they implement that.
Yeah.
Is she blind?
Yes,
She is
she's blind.
She's
And that-
Okay. No,
That's-
sees through
we're
the-
rewriting Toph. She can see now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
no.
no.
If
Oh,
she's
yeah,
not
don't.
blind,
Yep, that
I'm
would just
not
be bad.
watching, dude. Like Loki, that would turn me off completely.
Yeah, it's like this
Crazy.
whole seismic thing is just not gonna happen. Yeah, it's yep.
It's
Because that was
yeah,
like
it's
the
just too
main
hard
reason
to
she's always
too hard to
barefoot.
make in real life, you know.
They
We're-
got
we're gonna take the series that's a balance of seriousness and like joy, and then we're just gonna take all the joy out of it, and then also we're gonna like take all of the other stuff out of it, and then like here you go.
I also
Fine.
want to see how
has
the
to
Dai
learn.
Li get represented and the whole
May and Ty Lee were just standing there every
Oh,
scene
yeah.
where Zola's in
Oh
the
my
picture.
god. I feel like they're casting like this is gonna be a somewhat mean take, alright? So I'm sorry, internet. I feel like they're just kinda ugly. Is that rude? Like Like rich,
Alright,
like
I mean-
I mean, hey, rich for me to say. I'll say it. But like, I just look at May and Ty Lee, and like, I feel like I forgot that they were even showed because like,
I didn't know that they were May and Ty Lee when
Yeah,
like the first time I saw them.
they just don't
even
match
remember
at all.
seeing them.
They just don't. It doesn't at all. I don't
I think
know.
Azula's cool.
She's
I
alright.
like
I
Azula's
think Azula matches really well, but
kind of. She kind of has like a more
it's with
bitchy
everything. It's more
attitude
serious. Yeah,
in the
it's more
series.
serious in a
In
bad
the-
way.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't
she
like-
w-
Yeah, she has
was
a more
like
bitchy
that before
attitude
she went
in
like
live act-
completely crazy
cartoon.
later on. So I felt like that made sense.
Well, they
No,
also
even
kind of
Azula had
changed.
like wit and charm to her, and they just kind of got rid of most of that. And it's like, I must do this for my father, my father. This has to be done. Like,
Yeah, I mean, she used to fuck with people mainly by like saying like familial things like, "Oh, little Zuzu," or blah blah blah. I'm blanking on a specific line for her, but she basically used to like say nice things in a menacing enough tone that it was clearly obvious that she was like meaning the exact opposite.
Also-
Or go ahead.
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but Azula in the cartoon, whenever she's being like tested by her father and she's fighting these like almost basic Fire Nation henchmen, she kind of likes toying with them because of how much stronger she is with them. And that's one of the things that kind of drives her mad, is because when Zuko, like her banished little brother, who she doesn't really respect at all, kind of starts clapping her whenever they fight, she kind of goes crazy.
she
And it
was
seems
already
like-
turbo bonkers before that fight, but she got even progressively
Yeah,
more.
she gets crazy
Yeah.
because no matter how many fights she wins and who she wins against, her father still looks disappointed, which they did do in this, in the live action. But I feel like they're also missing like the first time that she is fighting the goons, or like for the first few times. I could have swore in the cartoon she was like enjoying absolutely styling on them.
I was
I
gonna
think, yeah,
say,
I think that is what happened. She was enjoying styling on them, and that's why she could have finished it 2 moves earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Something like that.
in the live
And
action,
no matter how much she styled on them in like 1v9 every fight she was against these people that her father was putting her against, her father still looked disappointed. It's like
Well-
they kept that part, but
yeah,
and then she just starts going slowly like kind of bonkers, which I can already kind of see in in season 1 of the live action.
well, if I remember correctly, she did have like a fairly quick descent into madness.
Yeah.
Like, it did
was
not
like
take very long.
she was pretty lucid throughout book 1 and 2, and then at 3 she just started to kind of deteriorate quickly. What happened is that Ozai put so Ozai wanted to go basically be king of the world with his like plan with Sozin's Comet. So he put Azula in charge of like being the Fire Lord. And she's like 14. And the only life skill she has is personal combat. So she doesn't know how to be a ruler. And that quickly started to make her kind of fucking lose it.
That's based. I hope they do that then
Yeah.
in season 2. I hope hope that happens.
A lot of her going crazy just happens in the palace for like the Fire
True.
Nation. Like her looking at her, I don't know, I can't return up. Her like looking at herself in the mirror and like seeing her mom, and her mom like commenting about her hair and like all that shit. It's like as she's like starts like just fucking like cutting her hair and fucking it all up because she's losing it. It's really just
Mm,
mainly in the
true.
palace. That she starts
Because
going crazy.
Zuko was always her mother's favorite.
Yep.
That was one of the things too that drove her wild.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely hope that they hit on all of those points, or else it's going to look kind of random whenever she goes crazy. But I mean, not completely random. They're very obviously making it seem like her father really does not believe in her, and they're already kind of hitting on that.
Yeah.
And doesn't like. It's almost in a way like Zuko is his dad's favorite too, but he wanted to banish his son because it felt like it would make him stronger, which is kind of what they went with.
It's sort of
live
implied that if Zuko just changed like this much as a person, if Zuko didn't have Iroh, he probably would have eventually came back and like would have been the heir. Because I mean, he is the firstborn son. I wanted to say, by the way, he's not
Yeah.
younger. He's not younger than Azula. He's older. He's the oldest.
Oh.
He's the oldest member in the show that is like of like the gang generation.
Oh,
He's
oh yeah,
16.
him obtaining his destiny and like taking the throne is because like he would have been first in line for it and still probably is, or like if he wasn't banished.
Yeah.
He still technically is presented that way through a large majority of the show.
Yeah, like when Azula, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say like when Azula, which this kind of brings me into a tangent after, but when Azula hits Aang with lightning and like disconnects him from the spirit world and like all of that crap, and like Aang almost dies at the end of season 2 when Zuko comes back to the Fire Nation because Azula's like, oh, I'll let you take credit and all that stuff. He's treated very, very, very well. But the main problem is that he's kind of realizes that
fake.
he's home. Yeah, he's home and it's all fake. Like he is holding his tongue to be like the prince that his dad wants him to be. And he's just after more experience with life, he's not like he's kind of disgusted by how the royal family lives, like how he just wants to walk over to his girlfriend's house, which is like a minute's walk away, and they're like, "Oh, a prince must not walk on his own. We have to like carry you in a palanquin, and like all of this stuff." And he's being like pampered to the absolute max, and he's like, "I don't even want any of this shit. Actually, like this is what I was all doing it for, and I don't even like want it."
That shit sucks.
That's what
Like,
makes him end up like leaving to
base.
try and join the gang. But
Mhm.
yeah, I hope they do Zuko's redemption. Like the I'd say like my top 3 I want to see. I hope that retaking Ba Sing Se during book 3 is as cool as it should be with Iroh,
Iroh.
Paku. I blended Paku
Oh,
and
the White
Iroh.
Lotus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically the whole White Lotus thing. Iroh, Paku, Bumi, Zhong Zhong, and Piandao. I hope that when they like fucking 6-man retake or 5-man retake Ba Sing Se that it doesn't look like garbage. I hope Bumi does get to take back Omashu by himself like he does in the animated show. And then I really, really, really hope that they don't ruin Zuko's like whole arc. He's kind of
Yeah.
basically the second main character of the show in the original.
Now that I'm thinking
He's
about it,
my
there's so
favorite
many
character in the show.
key Zuko scenes in the later seasons that if they don't like implement or don't give the proper time, it's just not gonna make sense.
Yeah.
even if they cut out most of the minor stuff, I just want them to like do justice to all of like the major stuff.
Yeah. I think I have faith that they're going to do the Black Lotus or the White Lotus because the coin that Iroh drops that leads Zuko to him whenever he's captured by the Earthbenders is a coin with a White Lotus on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am hopeful that they have already acknowledged that plot line exists.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it would really not be a vibe if that entire plot line was removed.
God.
Yeah.
Are they even gonna do the Siege of Ba Sing Se with the drill? How much
Uh,
CGI are you gonna have to use to make that drill?
They have to. I mean,
It
like that's like
depends.
the
I
thing.
mean, I feel like
There are some things that have to be done. The eclipse, the swamp,
Eclipse.
the library, the final scene, and taking and retaking Ba Sing Se.
Uh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, I feel like
there's a very big like itinerary list for book 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I fear that they're not going to do it all.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say for book 2, it's all of that except retaking Ba Sing Se is in book 3 with Sozin's Comet.
eh,
Because
and
go ahead.
Isn't that the fight that ends the war?
Kind of like
Kind
they are
of.
retaking Ba Sing Se at the same time that Aang is like kicking Ozai's ass. It's pretty much like
Yeah,
parallel.
it's like, yeah. I mean, one that I really hope gets implemented like well is the whole Zuko and Aang finding the last dragons bit,
I was thinking that in my head. I think that
because
scene
that's
could
like
be really
such
cool.
an important part for both of them. Like if they don't put that in and give
And
it the time it deserves, it's
That's
just
like
gonna
the
be a
entire
stinker.
reason that Aang gets over his like fear of learning how to firebend is like learning about like how real firebending comes from like the essence of love and like life and not
Mhm.
like anger and destruction. That's like the entire reason he's like, okay, Zuko, I'll let you train me because of that journey they go on together.
Yeah, so like I hope that gives the time it deserves. Because if it doesn't, I don't know how they're really gonna handle anything past that.
So true. But
yeah, that's
honestly,
definitely in the itinerary for book 3 then.
yeah, honestly, I think, does anyone have any closing thoughts on the live action Avatar?
I mean,
I
we
mean,
spent a lot of time shitting on it, but it's still like a 6 out of 10 for me.
that's what I was gonna say. It's around like a 5 to 6. It's kind of mid, and it hits some things, and what it does hit is really good, but there is a lot to be desired still.
Yeah, I was
I think
like,
it's 7 out of 10 for
yeah, I
me.
was
Even if
gonna
they
say
do,
6 or 7 for me.
if they do it the hour long episodes, 8 of them for the next 2 seasons. The next seasons were shorter than the first one. So like you have even more time than you did like for the first book to put the things that you need to put in it.
Oh yeah, I'm also now just thinking in this like closing thoughts segment. I hope that Zuko alone is a really good. I I think Zuko alone is important enough that it should like get its own episode, but I feel like it won't. So I hope it's at least like a good like 10, 20 minutes. I don't know of like
Mhm.
one of them because that's really important for his development. But yeah, I think six or seven for a show. Clearly watchable, and we watched it in like less than a week. So I mean, it was good. It was fine. Definitely
Yeah,
things
I
it could
mean,
improve on.
I will say for me personally, I had it at like a 7 immediately after watching it, but just like retrospectively thinking about some of it just dropped it down for me a little bit.
And that can happen. I definitely went into this podcast kind of feeling crazy because the general online sentiment for the show was that it was very, 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 very bad, like atrocious.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I
that's just fan bases hating
Uh,
yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. It's like I don't know if I've like grown less critical as a person over the years or if I'm just like happier and so I'm like willing to give more things
I
the
feel like
benefit of the
some of
doubt.
that just comes from the movie was so bad that there's just a bias when it comes towards live action with the series now.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
anything live action has a bias towards it. The fans of Death Note said that the Death Note movie was really fucking bad, even though it was a really good introduction to like the plot of the story. The it just happens with live action. People can't like understand that you cannot do a 1-to-1. There's not enough
Mhm.
time, And time wasn't the issue in this one, but like even still, it's hard to organize the actors to do everything. Because Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animation, it had like everything was like important, everything. So
Yeah.
they only had 45 more minutes or whatever that it mathed out to be, and like when you take the issues of live action, of course there's some things that are gonna get left out, and then people are taking that and they're just being like, "Wah."
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, there's just some things
Fair.
that you can't really do in live action, like the amount of lightheartedness. No matter how much you try, even if you had all the lines and the dialogue and everything, it would never reach the same level because like you couldn't have that scene where Aang makes that really distorted, funny-looking, goofy face right before he's about to sneeze, and then sneezes and shoots 10 feet in the air,
Yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
and then just like slides down.
And
I don't know how they would make that even look moderately good.
yeah,
In
I agree completely. And I know I didn't bring it up at all, but that is one of the big reasons why I say certain series I feel like just shouldn't gravitate towards live action because you kind of lose the part of what makes it.
yeah, but overall, yeah, I'm fine with it. I think I probably have like the highest score. I think it's like 7 out of 10. I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, I guess on that note, thank you everyone who watched this far into the podcast. Do appreciate you guys tuning in every single week. We're going to be back next week. I hope you guys have a great night. Remember, if you did like the podcast, by the way, remember to like it, subscribe, leave a comment. We do answer every comment that we get. Drop some questions if you want. We're trying to build some questions for the Q&A episode. But other than that, I think we're about done here, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have the Patreon. That's it. That's the only other thing.
Oh, true. Yes.
Which
Please subscribe
has
to the
about
DuoQ Patreon.
about 2 bonus episodes a month or so is kind of the schedule. And yeah. Also, if we do get big and we have like hundreds of comments on our YouTube videos, that'd be the dream. But like if that ever happens, we'll probably ask for Q&A questions on the actual Patreon so that way we can get like not a million of them to have to look through. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.
All right. Everyone have a good night. See ya.